The sun was setting over the mountains as Tai checked the lock on the last tiger cage. The big cat watched him with amber eyes that seemed to understand more than they should. Ta smiled and nodded at the animal. This was his favorite time of day at the sanctuary. "Good night, old friend," he said softly. The tiger blinked slowly in response. Ta had spent the last 5 years building this place in the quiet countryside of South Korea. The Wild Heart Sanctuary was home to 12 tigers, 8 lions, and several other big cats rescued from illegal trade or cruel owners. Each animal had a story. Each one had found safety here. "Are you talking to the tigers again?" a gentle voice asked behind him. Tay turned to see Nina walking toward him, clipboard in hand. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the sanctuary's green uniform. Though they had worked together for 3 years, something about her still made Ta feel nervous in a good way. "Someone has to," he said with a smile. "Did you finish the medicine count?" Mina nodded. "Yes, and I sent the supply order. It should arrive next week." She looked down at her clipboard, then back up at him. Her eyes held something she didn't say. "Is something wrong?" Tai asked. "No, nothing's wrong. She stopped and looked up at the sky. "What is that?" Ta followed her gaze. Above them, the evening sky was changing. Strange lights moved in patterns no plane could make. They watched as the lights grew larger and brighter. "We should check the news," Ta said, his voice low. Inside the small office building, they turned on the television. The regular show was gone. Instead, a nervous reporter spoke quickly. "We are getting reports from all over the world," the reporter said. "Unknown objects have entered Earth's atmosphere. Military forces are on high alert, but there has been no hostile action yet. Officials ask everyone to stay calm and stay inside." Mina grabbed Ta's arm. "Do you think it's really happening? Aliens?" Before he could answer, the television signal changed. The screen showed a face that was almost human but not quite. The skin was pale blue. The eyes were too large and had no whites, just solid yellow. When it spoke, its mouth moved strangely. "People of Earth," the being said in perfect Korean, "I am Commander Drev of the Vrax Empire. We come in peace and friendship. Your world is now under our protection and guidance. Do not be afraid. We will help your species advance." Tai and Minna looked at each other. The message repeated in different languages. "What do we do?" Minna whispered. "We wait," Ta said, "and we make sure the animals are safe." The next morning, more ships appeared. They were massive and shaped like arrowheads. They hovered over major cities around the world. Smaller ships landed in city centers. The beings that came out looked like their commander, humanoid but with blue skin and yellow eyes. 3 days passed. The Vrax set up bases in cities. They spoke of peace, but soldiers with strange weapons stood on street corners. They called it maintaining order. A week later, Tai watched a Vrax announcement on television. The alien spoke about integration and new governance. Behind the calm words, the message was clear. Earth was now theirs. "They're taking over without firing a shot," Minna said, sitting beside him. "Smart." "For now," Tai replied. "But what happens when people don't want to follow their rules?" They got their answer soon enough. When some people in Seoul protested, the Vrax used weapons that didn't kill but caused terrible pain. The protests stopped quickly. 1 month after the Vrax arrived, life had changed completely. People needed special passes to travel. The internet was controlled. Food was rationed in cities. But here in the countryside, at the sanctuary, things remained mostly the same. "I think we're lucky," Minna said one evening as they fed the big cats. "They don't care much about us out here." Ta nodded. "They're focused on cities and technology. Animals don't interest them." But he was wrong. That night, as they were closing up, a truck came down the long dirt road to the sanctuary. It wasn't the usual supply truck. This one was gray with no markings. 3 Vrac soldiers stepped out. They wore fitted armor that shimmered slightly in the fading light. Each carried a weapon that looked like a thin metal rod. "This facility has been marked for inspection," the lead soldier said. His Korean was perfect but flat, with no emotion. "We must catalog all assets." "Assets?" Tai asked. "The animals," the soldier replied. "Large predators are of special interest to the High Command." As the soldiers walked toward the first cage, something strange happened. The tiger inside, usually calm around humans, began to pace. Then it roared, a sound so powerful it seemed to shake the air. The other cats joined in, creating a chorus of wild anger. The Vrac soldiers stopped. For a moment, Tai thought he saw something in their yellow eyes. Was it fear? "You will prepare full records of these creatures," the lead soldier said, his voice slightly less steady. "We will return in 3 days. Be ready." They left quickly, almost hurrying back to their truck. When they were gone, Minna turned to Ta, her eyes wide. "Did you see that?" They were afraid. Ta looked at the tiger cage. The big cat had settled down and was watching them calmly again. "Yes," he said slowly. "I think they were. And I think we just found something very important." 3 months had passed since the Vracs arrived on Earth. Life had changed in ways no one could have imagined before. In the cities, tall metal towers now stood where parks once were. Vrac soldiers walked the streets, their blue skin striking against their dark uniforms. At the Wild Heart Sanctuary, Tai woke up early as always. The morning air was cool and damp. He could hear the tigers and lions stirring in their enclosures. These sounds had become more comforting than ever in these strange times. He made his way to the kitchen in the small staff building where he lived with Minna and now 5 other people. These were friends who had fled the city, seeking safety away from the Vrac's control. "Good morning," said Han, a doctor who had refused to work at the new Vrac's medical center. He sat at the table drinking tea. "Any news?" Ta shook his head. "The radio is still giving only Vrac's approved messages." Minna entered the kitchen, her hair tied back as always. "I made a list of supplies we need," she said. "Someone needs to go to town." "I'll go," Tai offered. "I have to check on the tiger medicine anyway." The Vracs had set up checkpoints on all main roads. To travel, people needed special passes. Ta had been given one because he was a veterinarian who provided essential animal care. This was strange because the Vracs seemed to pay little attention to Earth's animals, except for the big cats. After their first visit, the Vrac soldiers had returned as promised. They took many pictures and samples from around the sanctuary, but never got close to the cats. They always stayed at least 10 meters away from the cages. "Remember," the lead soldier had told Tai, "these predators are now property of the Vracs Empire. You will continue to care for them until we decide their purpose." On his drive to town, Tai saw 3 Vrac ships hovering in the distance over Seoul. The aliens called their presence a peaceful assimilation, but it felt more like slow, careful control. They didn't destroy or kill much. They simply took over, step by step. The small town near the sanctuary had changed too. A Vrac's flag, blue with a yellow symbol, hung from the town hall. A small control center had been built on the edge of town. 2 Vrac soldiers stood guard outside it. At the pharmacy, Ta got the medicine he needed. The pharmacist, Mr. Kang, leaned close when no one was looking. "There's talk of resistance groups forming in the mountains," he whispered. "People who want to fight back." Ta nodded but said nothing. It was dangerous to talk about such things. When he returned to the sanctuary, he found Minna in the research room. Before the invasion, this had been a small space where they studied big cat behavior. Now, it was also their meeting place, the only room they were sure the Vracs hadn't seen or put listening devices in. "I watched them again today," Minna said, pointing to her notebook. "The tigers especially. They act different when the Vracs are near. Not just angry, it's more than that." Ta looked at her notes. Minna had been tracking how the cats behaved around the aliens versus how they acted around humans. It's like they sense something about the Vrax that we can't, Ta said. Yes, and did you notice the Vrax never touch anything a cat has touched? Not even with gloves on. A knock at the door made them both jump. Han stood there with a worried look. Someone's here to see you, he said. A man named Jin. Says he knows you from school. Ta frowned. He knew no one by that name. In the main room stood a tall man with a serious face. He wore simple clothes and boots covered in mud. Dr. Tay, the man said with a small bow. I'm Jin. I need to talk to you about the Vrax. And about your cats. Ta looked at Mina, then back at the stranger. How do you know about our cats? Everyone in the Resistance knows, Jin said. Word has spread about how the Vrax act around your sanctuary. They fear something here. Resistance? Mina asked. You're fighting the aliens. Jin nodded. We're trying. But their technology is too advanced. We need an edge, something they don't expect. He looked at Ta, something like their strange reaction to big cats. Ta was about to answer when they heard the sound of engines outside. Through the window, he saw 2 Vrax vehicles coming up the road. 5 soldiers, plus someone else, said Han, who was watching through binoculars. Someone important, wearing different clothes. Jin moved quickly to the back door. I'll go, but I'll be back tonight. Think about what I said. He slipped out and disappeared into the trees behind the sanctuary. The vehicle stopped outside. The soldiers stepped out first, weapons ready. Then another Vrax emerged. This one wore a deep blue uniform with gold markings. His yellow eyes scanned the sanctuary carefully. That's Commander Drev, Minna whispered. The one from the first broadcast. Ta straightened his shirt and went outside to meet them. Behind him, the big cats began to growl, a low rumble that filled the air. Commander Drev looked at Ta, then at the cat enclosures in the distance. For just a moment, his confident face showed something else, a fleeting expression that looked very much like fear. Welcome to Wild Heart Sanctuary, Commander, Ta said, trying to keep his voice steady. How can I help you? Commander Drev stood tall, his blue skin shining in the sunlight. When he spoke, his voice was smooth but cold. Dr. Ta, I've come to see these Earth predators myself. My soldiers have filed unusual reports about this place. Behind them, the tigers continued to growl. The sound seemed to make the Vrax soldiers nervous. They gripped their weapons tighter. Of course, Ta said. Would you like a tour? From a safe distance, Commander Drev replied quickly. Too quickly. As they walked, Ta noticed how the commander stayed far from the cages. Every time a cat roared or moved suddenly, the Vrax leader's hand would twitch toward his weapon. These animals, Drev said, they are primitive hunters, yes, not intelligent. They're very smart, Ta answered. Not like humans, but they understand more than most people think. The tour ended quickly. Before leaving, Commander Drev looked at Ta with his large yellow eyes. This facility is now under direct Vrax supervision. We will send scientists to study these creatures. You will help them. After the Vrax left, Minna found Ta in the medical room. What do you think they really want? She asked. I don't know, Ta said. But did you see how they acted? Even their commander was afraid of the cats. That night, as promised, Jin returned. They met in the research room, speaking in low voices. The resistance is growing, Jin told them. But we need weapons that work against the Vrax. Their armor stops bullets. Their ships are too strong for our missiles. We're veterinarians, not soldiers, Ta said. How can we help? The Vrax fear your cats, Jin replied. We need to know why. Before they could talk more, Han rushed in. Ta. The new tiger is sick. The one that was hurt by poachers last week. In the medical building, the young male tiger lay on a large table. Its breathing was fast and shallow. Ta checked its eyes and gums. Fever, he said. and the wound on his leg is infected. For the next 2 hours, Tai and Minna worked to save the tiger. They cleaned the wound, gave medicine, and took blood samples. Jin helped by holding tools and passing supplies. While checking the tiger's throat, Ta noticed something strange. "Look at this gland," he said, pointing to a small bump under the tiger's jaw. "It's swollen." "What does that mean?" Jin asked. "I'm not sure," Tai replied. "I need to take a sample." Later, in the sanctuary's small lab, Ta looked at the sample under a microscope. "This is odd," he said. "This gland is producing some kind of chemical, like a pheromone." "A what?" Jin asked. "A chemical signal," Minna explained. "Animals use them to communicate, to mark territory or find mates, or to warn about predators," Tai added. "But why would it be so active now?" The next morning, Vrax scientists arrived as promised. There were 3 of them, wearing white suits that covered their blue skin completely. They set up equipment in a building far from the cat enclosures. One scientist, who called herself Researcher Lim, asked for blood and tissue samples from all the big cats. "I can get them for you," Tai offered. "No," Lim said sharply. "We will analyze only samples that you collected before our arrival. Nothing new." This seemed strange to Ta. Why wouldn't they want fresh samples? That evening, Ta, Minna, and Jin met again. "I tested the gland sample against some Vrax material," Ta said. "A piece of cloth one of the soldiers dropped last time." "And?" Jin leaned forward. "The chemical from the tiger causes a reaction. It breaks down something in the Vrax material." "What does that mean?" Minna asked. "I think," Ta said slowly, "that the tigers produce a chemical that is harmful to the Vrax, not to their suits or weapons, to their actual bodies." Jin's eyes widened. "That's why they stay so far from the cages. That's why they're afraid." "It's not just fear," Ta said. "It might be survival. This chemical could hurt them or make them sick. Or worse," Minna added quietly. They sat in silence, thinking about what this meant. "Can you make more of this chemical?" Jin finally asked. Ta looked at him. "Possibly. But should we? This could be a weapon." "The Vrax took our world," Jin said. "They control everything. People are disappearing. Anyone who speaks against them. We need a way to fight back." Before Tai could answer, they heard a loud crash from outside, then shouting. They rushed out to see 3 Vrax soldiers dragging Han toward their vehicle. "Stop!" Tai yelled. "What are you doing?" "This human was caught sending unauthorized communications," a soldier said. "He will be taken for questioning." As they pushed Han into the vehicle, he called out to Tai. "They know. They're coming for thee." The night after Han was taken, no one at the sanctuary slept well. Ta spent hours in the lab, studying the tiger's gland sample. Minna helped him, writing down everything they learned. "If we can make more of this chemical," Ta said, "we might have a way to keep the Vrax away from the sanctuary. Or drive them off Earth completely," Jin added. He had stayed to help protect the sanctuary, knowing the Vrax might return. By morning, they had filled 3 small bottles with a yellowish liquid. It was a simple version of what the tigers produced naturally. "Will it work?" Minna asked. "I don't know," Tai admitted. "We need to test it." They didn't have to wait long. Just after noon, the sound of engines filled the air. Through the windows, they saw 5 Vrax vehicles coming up the road. "They're back," Jin said, gripping the gun he carried. "And there are more of them this time." Tai looked at the bottles of yellow liquid. "Everyone, take one. If they try to take the cats or us, break the bottle near them." The vehicles stopped in front of the main building. 10 Vrax soldiers stepped out, followed by Commander Drev. They all wore their full suits with helmets that covered their faces. "Dr. Tai," Commander Drev called out. "Come out now. We need to talk." Ta walked outside slowly. Minna and Jin stayed just inside the door. "Where is the human you took yesterday?" Ty asked. Being questioned, Drev replied. He told us interesting things about your research. Tay's heart beat faster. How much did Han tell them? I don't know what you mean, he said. We just take care of the animals. Commander Drev's yellow eyes narrowed behind his helmet. Do not lie. We know you discovered something about these Earth predators, something you think might harm us. He motioned to his soldiers. We are taking all the big cats now. They will be moved to a Vrax research facility. No. Ta stepped forward. These animals need special care. They won't survive being moved. That is not your concern anymore, Drev said coldly. Step aside or be arrested like your friend. The soldiers moved toward the cat enclosures. As they got closer, the big cats began to roar and pace. Even through their suits, the Vrax soldiers hesitated. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. One of the tigers, the largest male named Sun, had thrown himself against the door of his cage. Again and again, he hit it with his powerful body. The lock broke. The door swung open. Sun stepped out, his massive body free for the first time in years. But he didn't run away into the forest. Instead, he turned toward the Vrax. No, Ta whispered. They'll kill him. The Vrax soldiers raised their weapons. Commander Drev shouted orders. But before anyone could shoot, Sun charged. He moved with incredible speed, heading straight for the Vrax commander. The soldiers fired their weapons. Strange blue light shot out, but most missed. One hit Sun's shoulder, but he barely slowed down. What happened next shocked everyone. Commander Drev, instead of standing his ground, turned and ran. His soldiers also began to back away, some even dropping their weapons. Sun leaped onto one soldier, knocking him down. But the tiger didn't bite or claw. He just stood over the Vrax, roaring into his face. The soldier screamed. It was a high, strange sound that didn't seem like it could come from such a powerful being. Retreat, Commander Drev shouted. Back to the vehicles. Now. The Vrax ran, all discipline forgotten. They pushed each other to get into the vehicles. 2 soldiers were left behind, as the others drove away quickly. These 2 dropped to the ground, curling into balls, shaking with fear. Their suits had small tears from the tiger's claws, and a clear liquid was leaking out. Sun walked around them, roaring sometimes, but not attacking. It was as if he knew they were no longer a threat. Carefully, Tai approached the tiger. Sun, he called softly. Good boy. The big cat looked at him, then walked calmly back toward his cage, as if his job was done. Jin and Minna came outside, staring in amazement. Did you see that? Minna asked. They were terrified. Not just afraid, completely terrified. Jin nodded. Their soldiers ran away from one tiger. Imagine what an army of humans with tigers could do. Tai checked the 2 Vrax soldiers left behind. They were alive but frozen with fear. Their yellow eyes were wide, and they couldn't speak. Look, he said, pointing to where their suits were torn. They're having some kind of reaction just from being near sun. Like an allergy, but worse. The chemical from the gland, Minna said. It must be much stronger when it comes directly from the tiger. We need to tell the resistance about this, Jin said. This changes everything. Ta looked at the sanctuary, then at Sun, who was watching them from his cage. The Vrax will be back, he said, with more soldiers and bigger weapons. We need to be ready. 3 days after the tiger Sun scared away the Vrax, the sanctuary had changed. It was no longer just a place for big cats. It had become the center of resistance operations in the region. Jin had brought 20 fighters to help protect the animals and the people. They set up guards around the property and built hidden spots in the forest to watch for Vrax patrols. Ta worked day and night in the lab. He was trying to make more of the chemical that affected the Vrax so strongly. Minna helped him, recording everything they learned. I think I understand it now, Ta said, looking through his microscope. The tiger's glands make this chemical as a natural defense. On their homeworld, The Vraks must have had predators like our big cats. So they have a built-in fear of anything like tigers or lions? Minna asked. More than fear, Ty explained. Their bodies have a physical reaction to the chemical. It's like a severe panic attack. They can't control it. In another part of the sanctuary, Jin set up a radio system to talk with other resistance groups. He had also taken the suits from the 2 Vrak soldiers they had captured. The aliens themselves had been traded to another resistance group in exchange for Han and 3 other prisoners. When Han returned, he was thin and had bruises on his face, but he was alive, and he had important information. The Vraks don't like to admit it, but they're scared of Earth's animals, Han told them. Especially the big cats. I overheard them talking. On their world, they were prey for creatures very similar to tigers. That explains their reaction, Ta said. It's instinct. They can't help it. That evening, Ta called everyone together in the main building. Besides the sanctuary staff and Jin's fighters, there were now 15 more people who had escaped from Vrak's work camps. We've made progress with the chemical, Tay announced. We can now make it in larger amounts. He held up a clear plastic bottle filled with yellow liquid. This is 10 times stronger than what we had before. Just the smell of it should be enough to drive away any Vraks. How do we use it? Jin asked. We've made simple spray bottles, Minna explained, showing a small bottle with a pump. Each one can spray the chemical about 3 meters. We also found that different cats produce slightly different versions of the chemical, Tai added. Tigers make the strongest form, but lions and other big cats make it too. Jin nodded. Good. We'll take some of this chemical to the other resistance groups. If we all use it at the same time, the Vraks won't know how to respond. As the meeting continued, Ta noticed that Mina seemed troubled. When the others left to eat dinner, he found her sitting alone by the tiger enclosures. What's wrong? He asked, sitting beside her. Mina looked at the tigers, then at Ta. We're turning something amazing into a weapon, she said. I understand why, but part of me wishes we didn't have to. Tay touched her hand gently. I feel the same way. These animals saved us, and now we're using them to fight a war. It's not just that, Minna said, her voice softer. I'm worried about what happens after. If we win, will people see these animals differently? Will they fear them too? We'll make sure they don't, Ta promised. He looked into her eyes. Minna, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. What is it? She asked. Ta began, but was cut off by shouting from the main building. They ran back to find Jin standing over a radio. His face was grim. The Vraks just made an announcement, he said. Commander Drev has declared all Earth's large feline species to be biological weapons and ordered their immediate destruction. No, Minna gasped. That's not all, Jin continued. They've already started. Reports are coming in from zoos and wildlife preserves around the world. Vrak's forces are killing tigers, lions, leopards, all big cats. Todd felt a cold anger rise inside him. They're afraid, so they're trying to eliminate what they fear. We need to act now, Jin said, before they come for our cats too. What's the plan? Tai asked. We attack the Vrak's control center in town, Jin replied. Show them in the world that their fear can be used against them. Ta nodded slowly. I'll bring the chemical weapons, but we'll need help. He looked at the tiger enclosures. And I have an idea. That night, as they prepared for battle, Todd found a moment alone with Minna. What was it you wanted to tell me? She asked. Tai took her hand. I've had feelings for you for a long time, he said simply. More than friendship. Minna smiled. I know. I felt the same way. They stood close in the darkness, finding a moment of peace before the coming fight. Whatever happens tomorrow, Ta said, I'm glad we're facing it together. Minna squeezed his hand. For us and for the cats. For Earth, Tai added. The small town near the sanctuary was quiet as dawn broke. A light fog hung over the streets. 4 Vrax guards stood outside their control center, a square building that had once been the town hall. From behind an old store, Tai watched the guards. Beside him, Jin checked his weapon one last time. "Are you sure about this?" Jin whispered. Ta nodded. "The spray will work. Just be ready to move fast." Their plan was simple but dangerous. 20 resistance fighters were hidden around the town. Tai, Mina, and Jin would lead the first attack on the control center. They carried the strongest version of the Tiger chemical in spray bottles. "Ready?" Tai asked Mina, who stood on his other side. She took a deep breath. "Ready." Jin spoke quietly into his radio. "All teams go." Tai and Mina walked into the street, heading straight for the control center. They looked like ordinary people going about their day. Jin stayed hidden, watching. The Vrax guards noticed them, but didn't seem concerned. Humans walked through town every day. When they were 10 meters from the guards, Ta gave Mina a small nod. They reached into their bags and pulled out the spray bottles. "Now," Ta said. They both sprayed the yellow liquid into the air. The chemical made a fine mist that drifted toward the guards. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one guard sniffed the air. His whole body went stiff. "Danger," he shouted in the Vrax language. "Predator chemical." All 4 guards began to panic. They dropped their weapons and started running away from the control center. One fell to his knees, shaking so hard he couldn't stand. "It's working," Mina said with surprise in her voice. Jin spoke into his radio again. "Team 2, move in." More resistance fighters appeared from side streets. They all carried spray bottles. As they sprayed the chemical, a yellow cloud spread through the town center. Vrax soldiers came running out of the control center, but instead of fighting, they ran away from the chemical cloud. Some tried to shoot their weapons, but their hands shook too badly to aim. Tai, Mina, and Jin put on masks and walked through the cloud. The chemical didn't affect humans at all. They entered the control center easily. Inside, they found 3 Vrax officers trying to send a message to their main base. When they saw the humans, they reached for their weapons. Jin aimed his gun at them. "Don't move." But Tai stepped forward with his spray bottle. He sprayed a small amount of the chemical directly at the Vrax officers. The effect was immediate and shocking. All 3 Vrax collapsed to the floor, curling into balls. They made high-pitched sounds that seemed like cries of terror. "The direct spray is too strong," Ta said, surprised. "We need to be careful with this." They quickly took control of the communication system. Jin broadcast a message that he had prepared. "People of Earth," his voice rang out from speakers across town. "The Vrax are not invincible. They have a weakness. They fear Earth's big cats. The chemical these animals produce can stop the Vrax. Spread this message. The resistance has begun." By noon, the town was free of Vrax. Most had fled in their vehicles. Those who couldn't escape were captured. The resistance fighters treated them well, but kept them away from weapons. News of the victory spread quickly. Resistance groups in other towns asked for the chemical. Jin organized teams to deliver it. That evening, as they returned to the sanctuary, Mina received a message on the radio. "Ta," she called out. "You need to hear this." A voice crackled through the radio. "This is Resistance Group 7. The Seoul Zoo has been attacked. Vrax forces killed most of the big cats, but some escaped. They're being hunted in the city." Another message followed. "Vrax command ship moving to your region. Commander Drev is leading a large force to the wildlife sanctuary. ETA 3 hours. Jin looked at Ta. "They're coming for your cats, and for revenge." "How many?" Ta asked. "At least 50 soldiers, maybe more." Ta was quiet for a moment. Then he stood up straight. "We knew this would happen," he said. "They can't allow their weakness to be known." "What do we do?" Mina asked. "We don't have enough fighters to stop that many." "We use what they fear most," Ta replied. The cats themselves. He walked to the tiger enclosures, where Sun watched him with intelligent eyes. "Is that safe?" Jin asked, following him. "They could get hurt, or hurt someone." "These cats know us," Ta said. "They know the Vraks too, and they hate them." As night fell, they could see lights in the distance. Vraks vehicles moving toward the sanctuary. The sanctuary staff and resistance fighters prepared for battle. Ta stood with Mina, looking at the approaching lights. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Yes," he admitted, "but sometimes being afraid is good. It keeps you alive." He looked at her. The Vraks never learned that. They tried to destroy what they feared instead of understanding it. In the darkness, the tigers began to roar. The night was cold as Tai stood at the edge of the sanctuary property. The Vraks vehicles were getting closer. Their bright lights cut through the darkness. "Everyone in position," he asked into his radio. "Ready," Jin's voice replied. "Team 1 is in the trees to the east. Team 2 is by the main building." "All the staff?" Tai asked. "Safe in the underground storage room," Minna answered. She had stayed at the command center they had set up in the research building. Tai looked at the tiger enclosures behind him. He had opened the gates to 5 of them. Sun and 4 other tigers were now free to move around the sanctuary grounds. They stayed close, watching him as if waiting for instructions. "I hope this works," Ta whispered to Sun. The big tiger made a soft sound, almost like he understood. The first Vraks vehicle stopped at the sanctuary gate. Soldiers poured out, wearing full body armor and masks. They carried larger weapons than before. "They've prepared for the chemical," Jin said through the radio. "Those masks will filter it out. But they can't block the real thing," Tay replied. "The cats themselves." Commander Drev stepped out of the lead vehicle. Even from a distance, Tai could see the anger in his movements. The commander raised a speaker to his mouth. "Attention humans of the wildlife sanctuary," his voice boomed across the property. "You have attacked Vraks forces using illegal biological weapons. Surrender now or be destroyed." Ta picked up his own radio speaker. "We didn't attack you, Commander. We defended ourselves. And we used what nature gave us." "You have 1 minute to surrender," Drev replied, "or we will burn this place to the ground." "What do we do?" Minna's worried voice came through the radio. Ta looked at the tigers beside him. "Follow the plan. Get ready." The minute passed quickly. Then the Vraks began to move. Soldiers formed lines and marched toward the sanctuary buildings. Others set up large weapons that looked like cannons. "Now," Ta said into his radio. All around the property, resistance fighters turned on special lights. These were ultraviolet lamps that Ta had prepared. The light was almost invisible to humans, but it activated the tiger chemical that they had sprayed around the sanctuary grounds earlier. The air filled with the invisible chemical. At first, the Vraks didn't react. Their masks protected them. But then something unexpected happened. The tigers moved. Sun led the way, running silently through the tall grass. The other 4 tigers spread out, circling around the Vraks soldiers. They were hunting. A soldier spotted Sun and fired his weapon. A bolt of blue energy shot past the tiger. Sun roared, a sound so powerful that even some humans covered their ears. Suddenly, the night was filled with chaos. The Vraks formation broke as soldiers turned in all directions, trying to spot the tigers. More shots were fired, but the cats were too fast and too smart to be hit easily. Then one tiger, a female named Moon, leaped directly onto a Vraks soldier. Her weight crushed him to the ground. She didn't bite or claw him deeply. She just held him down and roared in his face. The soldier's mask cracked. Instantly, he began screaming in terror. His fellow soldiers turned to help, but then stopped. Their training told them to help, but their instincts told them to run from the tiger. "Their instincts are fighting their training," Ta said into the radio. "This is working." All around the property, the scene repeated. The tigers moved like shadows. appearing suddenly next to Vrak's soldiers, causing panic and confusion. Where they passed, the Vrak's line broke. Commander Drev shouted orders, trying to keep control. But then Sun appeared directly in front of him. The massive tiger stood tall, his eyes locked on the Vrak's commander. Through his mask, Drev's yellow eyes widened with a fear that went beyond normal. It was the fear of something written into his very DNA, the fear of an ancient predator that had once hunted his kind. "Fire the heavy cannons," Drev screamed. "Kill them all." The Vrak's gunners aimed their cannons at the main building. But before they could fire, resistance fighters sprayed them directly with concentrated tiger chemical. Even through their masks, the effect was strong. The gunners abandoned their weapons and ran. In the confusion, no one noticed a small group of Vrak soldiers moving toward the research building where Mina was working. "Ta." Jin's voice came urgently through the radio. "They're going for the lab. Mina is there alone." Ta ran toward the building, Sun following him as if understanding the danger. But they were too far away. 4 Vrak soldiers broke down the door of the research building. There was a short scream, Mina's voice, then silence. When Tay reached the building, the soldiers were coming out. One of them held Mina, a weapon pressed against her head. When they saw Ta and the tiger, they stopped. "Stay back," the lead soldier shouted, "or she dies." Ta froze. Sun growled beside him. "Commander Drev wants this one," the soldier said. "She knows how to make the chemical." They dragged Mina to a small Vrak ship that had landed nearby. Tai could only watch as they took her inside, and the ship rose quickly into the night sky. All around, the battle was turning. The Vraks were retreating, unable to fight while surrounded by the tigers and the chemical, but Tai felt no victory. "They have Mina," he said into the radio, his voice hollow. The battle at the sanctuary was over. The Vraks had retreated, leaving behind damaged vehicles and dropped weapons. 6 soldiers had been captured. But none of this mattered to Ta. Mina was gone. "We'll find her," Jin promised, putting a hand on Ta's shoulder. "The tracking device you put in the lab will help." Ta nodded silently. Before the battle, they had hidden small trackers around the sanctuary, just in case something like this happened. "The signal is moving toward Seoul," one of the resistance fighters reported, looking at a small screen. "Toward the main Vrak's command ship." Ta stood up straight. "Then that's where we're going." "How?" Jin asked. "We can't just walk into their headquarters." Ta looked at the captured Vrak soldiers. "We have their uniforms, their vehicles, and we have something they fear more than anything." He turned to where Sun and the other tigers rested after the battle. The big cats had fought without killing, as if they understood what Tai wanted. Now they watched him with intelligent eyes. "Are you suggesting we bring the tigers?" Jin asked, surprised. "Just Sun," Tai replied. "He's bonded with me. He'll follow my commands." They worked quickly. 3 resistance fighters put on Vrak's uniforms. 1 Vrak's vehicle was still working. They loaded special equipment into it, including the strongest version of the tiger chemical and a cage for Sun. Before they left, Tai checked the tiger for injuries. Sun was tired but unhurt. The big cat rubbed his head against Ta's hand, a gesture of trust. "We're going to get her back," Ta whispered to the tiger. Together. The journey to Seoul took 2 hours. The city had changed in the months since the Vraks arrived. Tall metal towers rose between the human buildings. Vrak ships flew overhead. Checkpoints blocked the roads. "Put your masks on," Jin ordered as they approached the first checkpoint. The 3 fighters in Vrak's uniforms were driving. Ta, Jin, and Sun were hidden in the back. The vehicle was stopped at the checkpoint. A Vrak's guard looked inside. "Command ship access," one fighter said in perfect Vrak's language. They had practiced with the captured soldiers. The guard looked at their vehicle number. "You're from the sanctuary battle. Report status. Captured 1 human, special prisoner for Commander Drev. Also captured 1 predator animal for study." The guard's eyes widened. "You captured a predator. Is it secure? Fully sedated, the fighter lied. Sun was very much awake, but hidden under a cover. The guard stepped back. Proceed directly to the command ship. As they drove through the city, Ta checked the tracker signal. Minna is definitely on the command ship. It's that large one hovering over the old government building. The Vrak's command ship was enormous. It floated 100 meters above the ground, with smaller ships coming and going from its docking bays. How do we get up there? Jin whispered. We request docking permission, Tay replied. Our prisoner is expected. The fighter at the controls sent the request. A few minutes later, they were cleared to dock. A beam of light from the ship locked onto their vehicle and slowly pulled them upward. Everyone ready? Tai asked. Once we're inside, we'll have to move fast. Jin checked his weapon. Ready. They landed in a large docking bay filled with Vrak ships. Guards approached their vehicle. Show me the prisoner, one ordered. The fighter pointed to the back. Secure in containment. When the guards moved to the back to check, Jin sprayed them with the concentrated chemical. They collapsed immediately, trembling with fear. Quickly, Ta said. The tracker shows Mina is 2 levels up. They moved through the ship, using the chemical spray whenever they encountered Vraks. Most fell instantly to the ground, overcome by terror. They found few guards. It seemed the Vraks felt safe on their own ship. On the upper level, they found a door with 2 guards. Beyond it, the tracker showed Mina's location. This must be important, Jin said. More guards. They used the last of their chemical spray on these guards. When they opened the door, they found a large room filled with strange equipment. It looked like a laboratory mixed with an interrogation room. Mina was there, strapped to a chair, and standing beside her was Commander Drev. I've been expecting you, Drev said. He wore a full protective suit with a helmet. Your tracking device was detected as soon as the ship's sensors scanned her. Ta stepped forward. Let her go. After what you've done. Drev's yellow eyes narrowed behind his mask. You've ruined everything. News of our reaction to your predators has spread across the galaxy. Other conquered worlds are using similar creatures against us. Then leave Earth, Jin said. End this invasion. It was never supposed to be like this, Drev said, his voice suddenly tired. This mission was meant to be my greatest achievement. The conquest of a world that harbors the very predators that once hunted our ancestors to near extinction. Tay realized what Drev was saying. Your species evolved as prey animals. Yes, Drev admitted. On our home world, beasts like your tigers hunted us for millions of years. We developed intelligence to survive, technology to fight back. Eventually, we eliminated our predators and reached the stars. But the fear remained, Ta said, built into your biology. A weakness I thought we had overcome, Drev said bitterly, until we came to Earth. He moved closer to Mina. I need the formula for your chemical weapon. With it, we can develop a defense, a way to overcome our instinctive response. Never, Mina said defiantly. Drev raised his weapon to her head. Then you leave me no choice. Wait, Ta said. He whistled sharply. The door to the lab burst open. Sun entered, his massive body filling the doorway. He roared, a sound that echoed throughout the metal chamber. Commander Drev froze. Even through his protective suit, the presence of the real predator triggered something deep in his brain. His hand trembled. The weapon slipped from his fingers. Commander Drev backed away from Mina, his eyes fixed on Sun. The tiger moved forward slowly, muscles rippling under his orange and black coat. He didn't growl or roar now. He didn't need to. Call it off, Drev whispered, his voice shaking. Please. Tay rushed to Mina and quickly freed her from the chair. Are you hurt? She shook her head. They asked questions. That's all. She looked at Sun with wide eyes. You brought him onto the ship. He wanted to come, Ta said with a small smile. He's protective of us. Jin moved to the room's computer system and began typing quickly. I'm accessing their central command. We can use this to send a message to all Vrax ships. Commander Drev seemed to recover slightly when Sun sat down beside Ta. You don't understand what you've done, Drev said. Our empire spans 27 worlds. We cannot appear weak. Yet you are, Ta replied. Not because of your fear, but because you tried to hide it. You could have studied Earth from a distance, learned about us. Instead, you invaded. The High Command ordered it, Drev said. They thought controlling Earth would prove we had overcome our evolutionary past. A sudden alarm began to blare throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. What's happening? Minna asked. Jin looked up from the computer. Other ships are sending emergency signals. Resistance groups everywhere are using the Predator chemical. And he paused, reading the screen. Reports of zoo breakouts worldwide. Tigers, lions, leopards, all escaping and heading toward Vrax bases. Impossible, Drev said. Animals can't coordinate attacks. They don't need to, Todd explained. They're following their instincts. They sense your fear, and they're drawn to it. On the computer screen, they could see images from around the world. In London, tigers from the zoo were walking through the streets toward the Vrax Tower. In New York, lions roamed near the Vrax headquarters. Everywhere, big cats were free and moving with purpose. The ships are leaving, Jin reported, still watching the computer. Vrax forces are retreating worldwide. More alarms sounded. A voice spoke over the ship's speakers in the Vrax language. What are they saying? Minna asked. Emergency evacuation, Drev translated, his voice hollow. All Vrax personnel to return to ships immediately. Earth is being abandoned. Ta looked at the commander. It's over then. Drev's yellow eyes narrowed. For the others, perhaps. But I will not leave in disgrace. He pressed a button on his wrist device. I've activated the ship's weapons. If I cannot have this world, I will at least leave my mark on it. No, Jin shouted, turning back to the computer. He's targeting major cities. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London. You can't stop it, Drev said. Only my command code can deactivate the weapons. Sun growled, sensing the tension in the room. The tiger moved closer to Drev, who pressed himself against the wall. Give us the code, Ta demanded. Never, Drev replied, though his voice trembled. Ta looked at Sun and gave a small hand signal. The tiger moved forward, stopping just in front of Drev. Sun didn't attack. He simply stood there, his amber eyes fixed on the Vrax commander. Something broke in Drev. The years of military training, the pride of command, all crumbled in the face of deep, instinctive terror. He slid down the wall to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. Krell 937 Vorla, he whispered. The code is Krell 937 Vorla. Jin typed it quickly. The alarms stopped. Weapons deactivated, he reported. And I've sent the shutdown code to all Vrax ships in Earth orbit. Outside the windows of the command ship, they could see other Vrax vessels rising into the sky. The invasion was ending. What about him? Minna asked, looking at Drev. He comes with us, Ta decided. As proof of what happened here. They made their way back to their vehicle, Sun walking calmly beside Ta. Drev followed, surrounded by Jin and the other fighters. The Vrax they passed stared in shock at the tiger, but were too busy evacuating to intervene. As they flew back down to Earth, they could see people in the streets of Seoul. Many were cheering, watching the Vrax ships leave. News was spreading fast. 3 days later, the last Vrax ship disappeared from Earth's sky. The invasion that had lasted 6 months was over. At the Wild Heart Sanctuary, Ta stood with Minna, watching the tigers in their enclosures. Most had returned willingly after the battle. Sun was back in his favorite spot, sleeping in the sunshine. Reports are coming in from all over the galaxy, Jin said, joining them. Other worlds the Vrax conquered are using our methods, creating chemicals from their local predators. The entire Vrax Empire is falling apart. Andrev, Minna asked. Telling us everything. Their technology, their worlds, their weaknesses. He knows he can never go back. Tai looked at the tigers, then at Minna. He took her hand. What happens now? We rebuild, she said, and we make sure these cats are protected forever. They saved us all. Not just the cats, Ta said softly. It was the bond between humans and animals. The loyalty we showed each other, the love. In his enclosure, Sun opened one eye and watched them. The tiger seemed to smile, as if he understood that Earth was safe again. Safe because of loyalty, love, and claws.